So, this session, Michelle, you'll be delighted to know we are doing the Claude Code related session. Exactly. We're going to go through a bit of a sort of a beginner's foundation of how to configure and set up your workspace. Some, let's say, top tips on things you can use, things that will make Claude a lot more powerful, things that will make your experience when you're using it for your projects, whatever those projects may be, things that will make it far less painless and far more seamless. Some of these are Anthropic official guidelines. A lot of them, things that I'll share, are going to be stuff that's created open source by other developers. So that basically means very kind and incredibly skilled developers building awesome projects and then making them available online for all of us to download and use via skills.
Devs are friends.
Devs are our friends. Exactly. Could not have said it better myself. So we are going to go through some foundations there. This is again, this in particular, this session is going to be very much an open conversation. So Michelle, John, even Nikki, again, I know it's late, so feel free to type in chat if you can't really speak. Just share any questions you have, anything you want to know. We'll keep it like much more interactive, less of a presentation style this week. And the objective is by the end of this session, you will have a very clear overview of how to configure a straightforward setup of your code base. And it's not going to be as terrifying as that sounds. But in essence, it will be a skeleton framework for you to build stuff within in a way that will not create a duct tape monster at the end of it. This is a theme that we've been talking about over the previous few masterclasses. And it is tied in very much with the business plan AI blueprint that we were banging on about last week and the week before. And we're going to talk about using that as a single source of truth within your infrastructure and your code base. Okay. So let's get rocking and rolling. I have a little guide for you, which I'm going to pull up on the screen. So this was literally just a good old-fashioned Claude Opus research prompt in Claude the LLM. Fancy that, eh? Using LLMs instead of Claude Code. So what we're doing, share screen. There we go. So I'm not gonna read this entire thing. I'm just gonna whiz through a couple of points. And I know again, if you're watching this recording, down below you will see the link to download this PDF for yourself. If you are watching on YouTube, down below in the description, you will see the link to join the school community. So go ahead and click that and you can get access to this resource, this recording, everything I share in this masterclass, anything that we've shared on any other masterclasses, and all the other masterclass replays, all in the school community. So click the link and join us. We have great fun every week. It's fantastic. So here we go. Claude Code. Now, a lot of you guys, obviously in the community, you know what Claude Code is. You've seen a lot of the potential of what it can do. I would advise that the best way to start using it is on things like web design, building landing pages. So that was actually how Amy, just here, built the new version of Betches Walking Betches.
My first project was actually cleaning up files on my computer and deleting things I didn't need. And then Dan yelled at me.
That's right. I screamed. I flipped tables. It was just an absolute carnage.
No, but it was like, I guess, the most dangerous thing to start off with. So don't follow in my footsteps. The next thing was a web design page. So that's what we're pulling up now.
Yeah.
So this is an example. This entire thing was created by Claude Code. And the reason we keep going back to this is one, it looks amazing. And two, it was done with prompting in a matter of like, I think 2 days.
Yeah.
And then I refined it over the last like 2 weeks and now it's finalized. This is amazing because I was using Wix before and I was like, it was a lot of clicking and button resizing on every page. And I just felt for me, it was really, really clunky. And this is it. I mean, this was so easy. If I want to update anything, I use Claude Code. And like Dan mentioned in the past few master classes, I use a .md file. So Claude Code always knows where we're at. All of the changes get pushed to GitHub, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And so that's how this whole ecosystem works. I am not paying for someone to do my website. If you're a web designer, I'm sorry, but maybe get into AI because this also took me some time as a business owner. So if you're, again, if you're a web designer, you're watching this, maybe offer AI as a, an additional solution.
Well, it just changes the way, just on that side note, it changes the way that services are offered. So, for
Yeah.
example, instead of in the traditional sense offering, here's a website build using WordPress or Wix for $10,000, it's like, no, no, no. Like you can be much more dynamic and creative. Like some of the projects that the AI
Mhm.
web devs are now building are
Mm.
utterly insane. Like what you did with the Betches site is beautiful. It's a stunning site. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. And you don't need to create these big, flashy, heavy animation, like large loads resource websites.
Mm.
That being said, like where the way that some of the devs are going now is less like a website and is more an interactive experience. And it's like phenomenal. This isn't the topic of this call, but I just think it's changing the playing field, and it just gives that and that change. You
Mhm.
hate this word, but it's disruption of an industry. Disruption. So she comes from like the Silicon Valley area, like LA, that whole everyone's a disruptor in Silicon Valley. So it
Yeah.
just
The
comes
amount
to
of
mind. Yeah.
times I've heard the word disruptor, I would
Yeah.
be okay if I never heard it again.
There we go.
Disrupting the industry. You're
Well,
doing something different and innovative, and I love that. But it's like disrupting the industry.
so they're
I just think
innovating
it's
the
a little
industry.
dramatic.
It's very dramatic, but you know, maybe that's the point. Who knows? Who knows? So yeah, it's innovating the industry, and it just
Yes.
changes the playing field. That creates opportunity for those who pivot and get their finger on the pulse with what that new landscape provides. So that PDF hasn't exported very well. I will fix that before I share the replay because you can't really read what on earth the command says. So let me just do the Claude version here, move that out of the way. So the couple of bits that I wanted to show you from this research brief, particularly if you're just getting started, we've got initial setup. So again, I've talked through how to set up Claude in previous sessions. Literally, just if you're not sure, just ask Claude the LLM to walk you through the steps for setting up and installing Claude Code. It will just basically tell you this step by step. You can also just use Claude Code on the desktop app instead of terminal if you're just getting started. We've obviously talked about that on previous sessions. Just download the desktop app, Google it, Google Claude desktop app, and then you can within the app you can access. Let me get that out of the way. Have they changed the layout now?
Oh, it looks different.
Yeah, I've got menus everywhere, so I can't really see what's going on. But oh, where's the
Oh,
Claude Code co-work and is it download? Oh, it's downloading an update, so I might be
okay.
locked until it finishes. But obviously, you can navigate through Claude Code, co-work, and the Claude LLM in the desktop app. So there's a much more user-friendly way to get started. And I have learned something actually just from reading this research guide. There's new features that Anthropic released yesterday, which have started to make the desktop app
Oh,
apparently a lot
it's
more
here.
powerful.
Chat and then co-work. This is code.
Oh, I see. They've moved the menu here. Okay, good spot. Well done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, top left corner. All right, that tripped me up. So we've got chat, we've got co-work, and we've got Claude Code.
Brand new interface as
Brand
of
new
10
interface.
seconds ago, I think.
Yeah, currently downloading. This is the new interface. Same principles though. You've got plan mode down here.
Yeah.
You've got the folder that you're going to be working in here. It's just going to be your project folder. And there's probably some other stuff, but oh, this is one thing that I was going to share with you. We'll get to that when we get to that. But here, the desktop app is a good user-friendly way to get started. So things to be aware of. Slash commands. So there's various slash commands that are useful to know and that help you to get the best out of Claude Code. One that you will use quite a lot is this one, or you should use it quite a lot if the context window is filling up. There's certain people mentioning no names at all, like to just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and start multiple projects in one thread. Go
Well,
on.
because I watched a YouTube video on everything that Dan is explaining now. This was like maybe a month or so ago. And they went through all of these slash commands. And I was like, I won't need that one. I won't need that one. And I just kept going through the list. Turns out I do. And the reason the slash clear one specifically is very, very important because when you're working in one window, I was asking it to do everything. And as we know, that is against kind of like the best practices because it gets so bogged down with so many different tasks. It's like an employee trying to do 10 jobs at once.
Mm.
So Best practice is to, when you complete a task with Claude Code, /clear erases its memory, gives you a new employee to work with. You can still work within the same folder you were working with, but every conversation that is a new conversation, /clear and just clear out the conversation so it has no prior context that it will bog it down with.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep that context window light and lean. Very important. If you guys are on the $20 a month subscription, which I think most people in the community are, the the model cost is quite handy. Config does let you update settings directly through here. If you get stuck, just literally type /help and it will show you this list of slash commands, right? So you don't need to keep this PDF handy. Just remember /help, and then you've got all of them right in front of you anyway. There's lots of other things now you can do with MCP servers. So that's like a way to connect AI to other systems so that it can basically use the system with all of its functionality. It's like API is one way to connect to systems. We've talked about that on previous masterclasses, and MCP is like the new AI communication layer. So you can hook up to like Google Drive, to your Gmail, you can hook up to Notion, you can hook up to various different softwares that you might use that have MCP servers. Just type that and then it's just like literally an authenticate, like enter your password on your Gmail account, boom, boom, authenticate, done. Right, pretty standard authentication. You'll have seen it many times before. We're not going to go through hooks. That's a bit more technical. Context. So again, if you're not sure when you should clear context or how much you've used, and you're like, is this switching a task? I'm not sure. It's kind of the same task. How much tokens have I used within my context window? Just type /context and it will show you. Okay. Other useful things, /memory. I use /BTW, by the way. I use that quite a lot. So that lets you type a little sub message without interrupting the main thread. So you just type /BTW and you say, hey, are you still there? Or what was the folder you're working out for this thing? Or what was, I can't remember what the endpoint you are at, whatever. Like you can just ask a question without interrupting your main conversation thread. So that's useful. We're not going to go through branches and forks, a little bit technical. Remote control, cool feature that was released a few weeks ago, kind of getting into OpenClaw type territory. Again, don't worry about that when you're getting started. This I think is new. I've not seen Power Up before. Interactive lessons with animated demos to learn Claude Code features hands-on. I saw this one and I was like, okay, that looks pretty damn powerful.
/power up?
/power up. Haven't tried it, haven't used it, but I spotted that and I was like, I'm going to mention that on the masterclass for you guys that are getting started. Yes. We will not go through bundled skill commands. If you want to read that, these are basically flags that you can add when you start Claude to just save you a bit of time to define the model, change permission modes, name your projects, like a few little things there. Some useful keyboard shortcuts. So things in like terminal. You've asked me this one before. You're like, how do I delete a message without just holding backspace and deleting the whole thing? Just hit escape twice, bang, bang. It's quite useful. So this one, you know, when Claude says, do you want to accept the plan, amend the plan, say no, or type something? If you're in plan mode, you'll often get this message. When you go on the no option, if you press tab, it will open up a comma and then you can type. So you can go, no, but I want you to amend this or change this, or this detail's wrong, but change it to that. All right, so that one tab is quite useful. Shift and tab, you'll use this all the time. So when you're in a terminal for Claude Code, doesn't matter what it is. Do you see down the bottom? Maybe I've got a zoom pen in the way. I don't know if you can see that. So when I shift and tab, do you see it cycles through plan mode, accept edits, and plan mode and normal mode? So that's shift and tab, like so. If you want to access past messages, you can press up and like you can scroll through past messages and past commands that you've typed. That can be quite handy. So for example, if you're like rerunning commands again and again, don't worry about the 9 terminals. Again, I know it looks very scary. Michelle's face is pure fear. It's basically just 9 Claude codes. Just start with 1. It's fine. And then, yeah, up and down arrows, we've mentioned that. Don't worry too much about some of the others. One that is quite useful, though, is Command plus K. That basically bumps the conversation like to the top of the window again. So it just sort of cleans up a terminal window. For example, like in this one here, if I type /exit like that, this window looks a bit messy, but if I press Command and K, you see it bumped the conversation up to the start. Just a little trick there. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, this Claude.md files. I agree with this statement. This is not hype. This is quite literally the single highest ROI setup action that you can possibly do whenever you start a new project in Claude Code. Claude.md is the universal file name that Claude knows to look for inside a project to pick up what rules, what guidelines, what should it adhere to, where should it find your context, your relevant files. It's basically the master file that tells it how to run, how to use your code base, and how to operate within this session. Okay, and every new session you start, every time you clear context, the second you type anything, it will look at your code base, it will look for the Claude.md, and it will use that to determine how should it work within this business. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys, I want to give you guys something that's not just like a slung together sort of lean version. I'm actively working on launching the AI blueprint for you as at the moment as a community. I want to get it to the point where you can run one prompt, and I'll probably do it as like a GitHub repo that you can install. But I basically want to get it so you can run one prompt, pick a folder on your computer, and import a load of skills, templates, files, guardrails, commands, like basically all the heavy lifting. Michelle likes that one. All the heavy lifting to get a really nicely pre-configured workspace that's just going to work many times better than just a Claude session that knows nothing, right? Rather than building your Claude.md from scratch. Because if you don't have a Claude.md, every session that you start basically just has nothing. You've got to just start from scratch every time. And even if you have like files in your project, like your brand.md, so that's like the context of your business, maybe you've got other relevant files and folders and stuff, like, yeah, sure, it can go and read those, but if you have a good Claude.md that navigates well between other guides and things, which I'll show you in a minute, that are in your code base, it's just going to make your life a million times easier without having to constantly remind it of things that is forgotten or constantly watch it go, I can't find this, or I've got to check this, or this thing failed. Let me go and find the solution and just burn through your tokens every time it tries to figure the same shit out again and again. All right, we don't want that. So if you're creating it manually, the easiest way is just to literally type /init inside Claude Code. It analyzes your code base and generates a starter file. You can also create one manually because a .md file just stands for .markdown, and you can literally export a Google Doc as a .md file. You just go in the top left, go File, Download, and then download as .md. So like you can, use MD files for as well. But the final thing is to be aware of, you can have multiple Claude.mds and they follow the hierarchical folder structure. So you have there's always a master Claude.md that kind of just runs in the background. You've then got your project Claude.md that it supersedes the master one. So like basically the one that takes priority is the project one. And then if you happen to have like, for example, a clients folder, let's say you're working with multiple clients within the same project and you've got a clients folder, they might have separate Claude.mds, right? Maybe different clients have different instructions or different things that Claude needs to be aware of. So maybe Claude has created modified copies of those Claude.mds. So if Claude was working in the client subfolder, it's going to inherit the subfolder level Claude.md, right? It always takes the furthest down the chain as the priority. They supersede the ones before it. Okay. So, any thoughts or things you want to add in that? Just any experiences before I carry on? I've been talking for.
Are you going to talk about the .env file?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's important. That's a good reminder.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
is this a good time to preface it?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll kind of cover some more holistic rules in a second. And again, like, um, I'll make the code base available to you guys with the download link at the
Mm.
bottom of this masterclass. You can just run the command and then download the whole thing. You don't necessarily need to know what I'm going to talk to you about, but one line that would need to be in that is worth having in your Claude.md is never hard code secrets in any code files anywhere. Always save them in the .env
I
file.
didn't know what a secret was. And so I just had like passwords and API keys flying around in my .md file. The problem is that that gets pushed to GitHub, which other people can potentially see. And hackers, I guess, go in there and do things. So you need to put the secrets in a secret file called a .env file. I don't know what it stands for. You don't either. And you don't need to know that. It just means where you put your secret stuff is not going to be a .md file. So you're going to put it in a .env, which Dan will cover.
Yes. What it means is it's an environment variable. So a, a developer term for your environment is essentially the secrets, the tokens, API keys, anything that the project needs to work properly. Um, what happens is when you save things in what's called a .env file, this is a universal developer thing. Like everything knows what a .env is.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Not everyone, every system. So don't worry. Everyone knows this, Amy, for goodness sake. Oh, so when you explicitly say to Claude, save secrets in the .env, that basically is a hidden folder that will live in your project directory. And when you push things to GitHub, so remember, GitHub is like it's a cloud hosted clone of your folders on your MacBook, right? So when you deploy your project online, whether that project is a website or a sales funnel or an app or a dashboard or whatever, right? When you deploy it online, you would typically use GitHub to deploy that, and GitHub is literally just a cloud clone of the folders that are on your local MacBook, right? It's a clone, but you don't ever push your .env file online, and GitHub automatically knows never to. It's got a parameter called git ignore, so it just knows to never import your .env. So what it does is you will have an environment. It's called env vars, environment variables, that lives in GitHub or in your server. Your server has a secure environment variables. Think of it like a
Mm.
vault where all the secure tokens and things and so on that will be in your env file locally, they live in the cloud environment in this secure place. They're never coded into files, right? There's Claude can go in and save them for you in that environment. You don't need to do it yourself. Claude can do it for you, but it just means that when, for example, you have like a web page online and you're inspecting the code, it would say a dynamic reference for the API token. So it'd be like a dynamic, it wouldn't actually say the API token, but it would be a reference to the env vars, the vault, right? That can't be accessed unless someone has root access. Okay, so just all you need to really remember is secrets and passwords going .env. And again, I'll give you a list of like instructions to just tell Claude to add these instructions to your env. I'll even put that as just the
Yeah,
document, even without before I've built
amazing.
the code base. I'll just give you those
We
rules.
do have a question in the chat from Michelle. What's the benefit of using terminal? It looks confusing.
Terribly confusing.
It
I
does look
agree.
confusing. I
Yes.
would agree with that.
Yes. So let me just pull up the screenshot. So terminal is basically the native way to interact with your MacBook at a developer level. Windows has its own terminal. I can't remember what it's called, but this is just like how to run commands on your MacBook. So you're right, it looks terrifying and it looks confusing, but when you're running Claude code in terminals, you just type Claude once you've installed Claude code.
And then you'll see the crab pop up.
The little Claude crab, here he is. Ignore all the ones behind. Let me just make it big screen so it's just one terminal. So now I just talk to it like an LLM. All right. So it's essentially yeah, just the developer window to interact with Claude while it's working. Thanks, babe.
So you
While it's
just write
working.
in the same as you would in the little
Yes.
text box in
Yes.
the okay. Because it looks to me like I need to now write in a different language than I
No,
can. Okay.
English works just fine. Or
Okay.
German, I guess, as well. That would be fine too. That's quite funny, actually. Hallo, sprichst du Deutsch? Yes.
Let me see
Yeah,
what
I
it says.
do.
I've never tried that.
Ja,
Oh my
sprichst du
God.
Deutsch? Here we go. Anyway, let's not divert too much.
Oh, okay. Sorry, sorry,
So
sorry.
yeah, Michelle, like
But yeah,
it's
so
really the same as
type
the
it
app.
in.
You're just typing normally, and it just runs commands. It just allows Claude to run. They're called shell commands, bash commands. It's just different types of commands to do stuff.
When you use Claude Code, you mostly use Terminal. Have you used the desktop app in Claude Code?
Only to sort of demonstrate a couple of things for the community.
Yeah.
And I sometimes use VS Code, which is an IDE. So it just allows like the developers will use this for, again, it looks kind of confusing, but it
Okay.
allows you to interact with code in kind of a few more advanced
Yeah.
ways.
So,
You don't need it necessarily.
do you know why someone would use Claude Code in here versus Terminal?
It's just you more user friendly. It just like Michelle, you
Yeah.
look at this
So
and it
it's
looks
the
familiar.
same.
It looks, yeah, it's literally the same. Like it's literally the same.
Cool.
It just looks nice. That's all. But yeah,
So
this
why
is
don't you use the desktop app then? Do you just
So,
prefer it looking more
well,
codey?
you use so many,
yeah.
and I think the desktop app, it only, this is just my own perspective of like seeing him work every day.
Hmm.
Claude Code you're only allowed, like on the desktop app, you're only allowed to work on the one because it's one window.
They have actually released multiple sessions. This is one of the
Have
updates
they
from yesterday.
really?
Yeah, you can
Oh,
now run multiple sessions in the
never
desktop.
mind. It sounds like they're the same then.
Yeah. It is. I think it's a little bit slower because terminal's just
Okay.
kind of running on the root of the machine, but it's not there's not really much noticeable in it. And yeah, it was a restriction that you could only run one session in there, but now they've added multiple sessions in the desktop app. So it's like, okay, well,
Hmm.
whatever. It's not that different really.
Okay.
So let me move on. But great question, Michelle. Yes.
Sorry,
So
one more that I put because it was relevant to what you just talked about.
Oh,
How do you distinguish between the .md versus the env files? Like in my brain, I'm like, I'm used to Word. I go to File, Save As, choose PDF, Doc, whatever. Like, how do I distinguish it in Claude?
yeah, so a .env, again, once it's written into your claude.md file, you don't need to remember it necessarily. Like the command just runs in the background every time. Claude knows where to put your sequence. It just does it. .md files. So this is the natural file structure that AIs will default to and use. So the way that AI operates within your code base is it will save natural language instructions as .md files. That's the file format that will just do naturally. And so you'll get very used very quickly into saying if you want a .md file saved for like I don't know, generate a sales proposal for this prospect, or let's say you have a skill that generates a sales proposal every time you've done a Fathom sales call, it's going to by default just generate that as an MD file. So you'll be, you can ask for it as an MD file, or you can just ask it to generate the file and it will just automatically do it as a .md file. So you don't really need to remember that. The only thing that might be a little bit different is you might sometimes have .json files. So this is it's called JavaScript object notation. We will touch on it in a second. But you will never really use or interact with anything that's a JSON file. The .md files are the ones that are human readable. So it's just a document. It's just a doc. It's like a
And
doc.
where do they come where do those secret like keys come from? Like I've not shared any passwords with my cloud. Is that what you did, Amy? Or where did the secret information come from?
yeah. So in order to hook it up to things like, so I hooked mine up to Vercel, I've hooked mine up to Gmail, I've hooked mine up to a couple different things. In order for it to get in, you have to authorize its use, which means you have to like share that stuff with it. Alternatively, if you don't have a username and password for some things, like I think I tried to hook it up to Wix at one point or something like that, and there was an API key. So it doesn't necessarily need, in that case, a username and password, but it needs an API key. Do you know what that is, or have you used one
Yeah.
before? Okay, great.
Yeah.
It's just a code that's generated to hook it up. Oh, I hooked it up to Slack. Same thing. It needed an API key. That's also a secret. So that's known as an API key, but I think of it as kind of like a password. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I've shared a lot of that with Claude Code. And yeah, Dan caught that and was like, put that in a .env file. So
She had a few hard-coded API keys.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like a good principle. So we'll circle back to any questions afterwards. I'm just going to whiz through the rest of this because it might answer some of the questions that you have by the time we get to the bottom of this.
Great.
But I want to touch on skills because this is once you've got a good workspace with a good Claude.md and you've got a few basic files in place, which I'll talk about in a minute. Skills are the single biggest, most powerful value add to Claude Code that you can use. So the way I like to think of a skill is in the Matrix when Neo was like he gets taken out of the Matrix and he's like learning how to do all those different skills, and then he wakes up and he goes, I know Kung Fu, and then Morpheus goes, show me. Right? They download the programs into their brains in like 2 seconds. They go, grrr, and then they know things. That's kind of like what a skill is to Claude Code. You're giving it the ability to do a specific task or process following a defined set of instructions or guardrails or configurations or whatever. You're just telling it how to perform this particular thing really well again and again and again and again. So typical skills that, and I'll give you again access to a document with a bunch of recommended skills down below on this recording. I'll share it with you guys. But things like an SEO optimizing agent and a GEO optimizing agent. So GEO is the new SEO that stands for. Can you Google it for me, please? I forgot what GEO stands for. But it's basically it's getting LLMs to rank your business, your website in search results. Generative engine optimization.
Called it LLM SEO, but whatever.
Yeah,
it's
but
SEO for LLMs.
Yeah, so what that means in English is when people, for example, for Amy, say, "Hey, can you recommend me a premium dog walking company in Santa Monica?" ChatGPT says, "Yes, Betches Walking Betches is one of the best premium dog walking companies in Santa Monica. They do this and this and this and this and this." It's different from SEO, and it just requires some configuration in the back end to help LLM agents really understand the context of your business so that they rank it higher than other similar businesses, right? So that would be an example of a skill that you can give Claude to make it really good at looking at a website and optimizing it for SEO and GEO. We did this for the BWB site. When we first deployed it with no SEO or GEO at all, it scored like 32 out of 100 or something. We ran the analysis, gave a great traffic light system, and this was a skill that someone else built, like one of our developer friends who was like, very, very kindly made it open source. Not that we don't know this person, just a friendly developer, friendly neighborhood developer. And it created a big report with the traffic light scoring system that we could then give to Claude and say, run through every single one of these tasks one by one to optimize our site following this report. It then ran it, then we reran the skill, and then it got a score of like 91 out of 100 or something. And then we started getting inquiries from ChatGPT. We could see it in the tracking, like Google Analytics. Lead source was ChatGPT, who started referring the BWB website, which is really cool. Okay, so that could be a skill. I've just created a skill today to do subtitles on videos. So this is a cool little thing here. So Amy just shot a bunch of videos.
Dog walking service. This is
So you see how it's got karaoke style subtitles. Bam, 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 bam.
Any recurring visit.
So I created a little skill with Claude Code that will automatically grab the transcript of a particular video. It will map the transcript to the speech in the video, and then it will create this karaoke subtitle effect on a video. And so now I've created a skill that I can share with anyone. I can share with you guys, and I will. That allows me to just go, hey, add captions in this brand style to this video, this font, this hex color, right? And again, if you've got your brand.md saved in your project workspace, the skill will look for your brand.md and say, with the karaoke bouncing word is going to be in your brand style, for example. Okay, so that's a skill. Now, we actually don't ever have to go and add subtitles to videos anymore, or use Opus Clip or something to generate subtitles. Just any video, we can have it automatically run through the skill, automatically add subtitles, and then automatically upload that video wherever we want to upload it. Skill does it, right? I did another one the other day. Any of you guys know DocuSign? They are worth $8 billion company, I think. Rebuilt DocuSign. I use it now for people to sign contracts. I think I did it in a voice note prompt to my Telegram version of Claude. I basically just said, I want to rebuild DocuSign. I want to do this and this and this and this. I want it to email the prospect with a little draw signature thing. I want it to use the SKA encryption method that DocuSign uses, and a few other couple of things. It took like one back and forth after the first prompt, remotely via Telegram, rebuilt DocuSign, and now I have clients sign contracts through a skill that I just built in Claude Code. Right, 2 prompts. Now DocuSign, I have my own DocuSign. It's an $8 billion company. I'm like, don't need that shit anymore. What's the point? You know? So this, you can build your own skills, and the way to think of it is any time you do something or you have some back and forward with Claude and you complete a task, if you are going to want to run a similar task in the future, turn it into a skill. And literally just say to Claude, turn this into a skill using the instructions for creating skills that's saved in the Claude.md file. And again, I'll give you the instructions, master rules of how Claude should behave when it creates a skill. And this include things like follow this process. I have a skill, which is an official Anthropic skill called the skill creator. It tells Claude how to create skills, and it is a skill. It is the master skill to create all skills, right? So it's like, follow this format, do this. When the skill's created, feed back to this location so that future agents know what skills are available in this contents file, right? It's like, if things don't work, have this feedback mechanism to learn what didn't work and then add, they're called gotchas. This is another thing. Claude communicates, or uses a term called gotchas, Gotchas, gotcha. A gotcha is like a tidbit of information that it can go, I tried this method to do this thing in the skill and it didn't really work, but then I figured out how to do it by doing it this way. It will add that bit of information to the skill file, so the next session of Claude that uses it can look at it and go, oh, I won't make that mistake again. I'll do it the way that works. All right. So gotchas are always added to skills. So your skills get better and better the more that they're used. So skills, bloody awesome. And I'm going to touch on the other way that you will often use skills, and that is via GitHub. So again, we touched on this in previous sessions, but when you start following AI people online, like a couple of Instagram AI influencers, a couple of YouTubers, you'll constantly be hit with, oh my God, you've got to try this new repo. It's awesome. It does this thing, or it does that thing, or it does that thing. Or my new favorite, I do this a lot. I say, I want to do this particular task. Okay, so an example of a task could be,
We wanted to add captions to the video today.
Let's use it. I could use that. Let's use a different example.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a tough. We'll use a different example. We'll keep mixing it up. So an example task could be, I wanna build a beautiful styled website. So you're saying this to Claude. I want to build a beautiful website. Go and research the top 5 GitHub repos that have the most stars and the most recommendations for beautiful website design, and then write me a PRD overview of how we could take the best practices from all 5 repos, turn them into a skill, and then use that skill to design our website. Claude will go and find the most highly recommended. So a star on GitHub. In fact, let me show you rather than talking to you. Let me show you. A star on GitHub means design repo means that other people have recommended it. All right. So the more stars that something has, the more that other people have gone, this is really good. So an example, uh, doo, 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 doo. So we got repos for,
Well, who uses Reddit?
yeah, this is a good example. Do you want to talk
Do you
about
use Reddit? Anyone?
anyone use Reddit?
Raise your hand if you use Reddit. No.
No.
Okay. Might lose them then. It's okay. Not important.
Okay. No
Well,
worries,
I
but you
get the
see,
principle of it, I just don't use it.
okay.
Okay. So when people like things, it's called karma. So in here, it's called stars. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah. So when developers people like projects and projects are highly recommended, they have stars, right? So anything over like 1,000 stars is a solid, safe project. Do not use projects that have like 7 stars because people can inject malicious code into things and stuff and like don't do that. I would always, again, in Claude.md, I would set a guardrail that says never install a GitHub project that has less than 1,000 stars. So Claude knows, like it's only stuff that's tried and tested, that's mainstream, that other people have gone, yeah, this is solid. Other developers have reviewed it. If it's got 1,000 stars, it's safe. Like it's fine. Anything over 10,000 stars on GitHub is gonna be like something that the whole AI community is basically jumping on. So you'll hear things like, so get shit done. This is one of the most starred repos in the Claude Code AI community. This is a build structure that breaks down PRD into waves. Again, I'll share this in the document down below, like my favorite repos that I use. It breaks things down into waves and it spawns a separate agent with a clean context window to run every wave of the build. So for bigger builds, like a CRM dashboard or something, it breaks complex projects down into subtasks, right, that are called waves, and it's coordinated by a master agent. Right, it's just done automatically. When you use this skill, this is one of my most used skills. The amount of times that I say use the GSD skill for this task, if it's like quite a big task, and that immediately Claude then goes, okay, and it reads the GSD skill and it goes, I need to break this task down into 7 waves or whatever the number is, right? And each wave has a specific agent that will run that part of the build, and the master agent that coordinates it knows what's happening between all of them, and it keeps the context window light and lean with fresh context for all the subagents.
I built a review scraper skill. So I was too lazy to go through my reviews and choose the ones that said certain things because I wanted to put them on my website in specific places. For example, anyone that mentioned dog walking, that's on the dog walking part of my site. If anyone mentioned anxious dog, that's on a specific part of my website. So I asked it to scrape the reviews from my website and put it in just like a Google sheet and then like highlight the ones that said this or whatever. And I want to replicate that over and over and over again at a later time in 1 month, in 3 months, because I always want to keep the reviews fresh. So I created a skill. So it's a very small use case scenario that saves me time. So I'm not like scrolling through my own reviews trying to copy and paste and read them all.
Yeah. Yeah, great example. So another one again, like you'll start hearing a lot of the same big ones thrown around if you start following any developers. Everyone's raving about Obsidian at the moment. I've just started looking into it as well. It's awesome. It's basically this. So do you remember I think it was last week or the week before,
We
I
have a
was showing you knowledge graph. Yeah, we did, didn't we? That's right.
well, today's the end of the competition.
So we can touch on that.
Yeah, we'll touch on that.
Remember before the end of the call.
Okay.
See if anyone had it. But this is Obsidian is a way to take all of the context from any conversations you've ever had with Claude and basically structure your code base, sorry, properly so that your nodes are interconnected and can pass data from A to B between systems. So as you see, if you click on like one of these big nodes on that guy there, so you can see how the branches map to other branches and things. Now, again, I've just done this for my whole code base, so it's just monstrously big, and we can't really make sense of it on this call. But when you start a code base and you install Obsidian, it's free. Like, it's open source. It's completely free. What you can do when you're designing your end-to-end project, let's say your AI blueprint for your business, we've talked about this a lot. You can run Obsidian, and you can visually see if you zoom out a bit what you'd want to see if Obsidian's building based on the plan in your AI blueprint. Obsidian would map all the connected ideas and themes to one another. So, for example, you might have marketing channels like Instagram and TikTok and so on. So they branch off from the marketing channels heading in your plan. And then those channels might get context from Fathom recordings, from sales calls. So Fathom node sends context into a CRM, which passes it to the marketing department so that you can run your
Wow.
offer creation agent that can get context. And that offer creation agent might have another agent that tracks the performance of your campaigns and then feeds back what it learns into the CRM. So there's a branch going there, connecting that knowledge back to the CRM, which then fans out to other agents that do other things like onboard customers. They have the transcripts from the calls in there. So the point of Obsidian is that you and AI can visually look at the knowledge graph of your code base, and it can understand how context is connected, how context flows. Um, am I still on? Have you, okay, yeah, sorry. I thought we froze for a sec. How context flows between different systems. And the point of this is that Claude knows what needs to go where in order for everything to work. And this is one of the big problems you're solving when your code base starts getting, you've got a few skills and a few agents and you've built a few things, and things suddenly you're like,
Yeah.
uh-oh, I'm
At
starting
that
to,
point right now where I'm
right.
like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh. How does it work? Like, where does the info go? I send it into a spreadsheet here and then I have a CRM here, but then that doesn't speak to that and that doesn't speak to that. So this is where you start
Yeah.
building it from the ground up, going, that's where the disconnects are. I need to bridge the gaps between these nodes. This is how the different parts of my
Yeah.
business aren't communicating. And you can literally look at it in the graph. You can say there's no branches from marketing to sales. They don't know what the hell's going on. And this is like most B2B businesses, in my experience. Most departments have no clue what other departments are doing, right? Sales doesn't know if finance has cleared the invoices for a project. The customer support don't know if they got unpaid invoices and if they're canceling, and they don't know if sales has upsold them to another part of the business. And like nobody knows anything. And so this is how you can start to, again, from the ground up, just build the right structure in your business so that the context from the different agents that work in different departments of your business is all flowing between them so they understand what's going on. So let me finish whizzing through the Claude document. There's a couple of really cool, thank you. There's a couple of really cool new features. Thank you. New features to go through. And then I'll show you an example of the files that I'd recommend you build within your code base. And these are the files that when I give you guys the one prompt to just install everything from the word go, it's going to include these files that I'll show you. And each one serves a different purpose. Think of it just like a contents at the start of a book. The Claude.md is the master contents. And then each of the files is like a chapter heading. Like, here's where you go to find this information, or here's where you go to find that information, right? And it's just following, it just branches down. And then Claude can go, oh, I need like to understand the how the database works. So I'm going to go find the file that maps out how the database works. Or I need to understand different endpoints. So an endpoint is how information moves between different systems. So I go and read the endpoint configuration file, and Claude.md says where that file is. Michelle?
And that's the business plan that you gave us, or different?
The business plan is gonna be a part of the Claude.md master structure. So Claude.md, for example, would have one line that says, to understand the full context of this business, read the business plan here. And then it's just like, there's a business plan.
Okay.
So Claude.md is one line, points to the business plan. And that's really,
Okay.
this is the thing. Boris Cherny, I think his surname, I always forget how to pronounce his surname. I think it's Cherny, the guy that built Claude Code. He himself says, keep your Claude.md file lean and light, like 1 to 200 lines. It significantly outperforms like an 800 line beast, because context is lighter and it's more, LLMs work better the cleaner the context windows.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's not awful. That's actually not too bad. Maybe it's a bit bad. Maybe we could do some cleanup. Amy's looking at a Claude.md file. It's pretty big. It's all right. We'll come back to that. So, last couple of things. Little tidbits of useful information for you. Skills, will again share some down below in a document. MCP, I've sort of touched on it. It's connecting different systems together. Pro subscription is the first level that you can start using Claude Code. Obviously, some of you guys are playing around with that at the moment. We won't go through API token usage. These are some initial Anthropic GitHub repos to supercharge Claude Code with skills. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. Stop. So we have, for example, Anthropic Skills, the official Anthropic Skills library. So that's a good starting place. You're like, what does Anthropic recommend? A good skills that I should go and download. There you go. Just go to github.com/anthropics/skills. Everything Claude Code. This is, I mean, again, it's a good way to kind of get you started with a whole bunch of stuff, but be careful about installing skills just for the sake of it. Like I went batshit crazy at first. I was
Me
like,
too.
yeah, both of us were like, oh my God, we install all this cool stuff. And then after 3 days, I'm like, I don't know what half of it does, and I'm never going to use it. It's just adding bloat. So now I'm very selective. I'm like, I only really add a skill if it's a specific thing that I know is useful for my business or other businesses, and I have like, clear way to sort of structure it. Again, a few different ideas here. I'll share this document down below, send the link down the bottom.
Wait, I think I don't think you touched on when someone is interested in a skill. They have to not only put it into their Claude code, but they have to configure it to their actual workspace and settings.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The easiest way to do that is probably going to be to just configure that in Claude.md. So I'll just write again. I'll create a document down below with the skills, with these guidelines, and that'll just be like a walkthrough of everything we're talking about here for how to add skills. And then I'll also create, again, it might be a bit later, but I'll create the one prompt process to install my recommended workspace and all the files. But yeah, for what you shared there, we'll make sure that the Claude.md knows whenever the user asks to import a skill, here's the process to follow.
Yeah.
Right, to import the skill. What Amy's referring to is that do you want to explain it?
Yeah.
Sorry? Okay, cool. Go.
Okay. So, in Google, on Gmail, when you go and you create an email to send to anyone, and then you have a template, and the template is like, dear in brackets, first name. And then it has the paragraph, and then it's like, truly yours in brackets, your name, my name or whatever. That's a template, right? So in GitHub, people have templates on there that you can download and then configure. I didn't think about it like that. I was just like, oh my God, a skill I can just download. The problem is it's like a template. So sometimes it says, insert your name here in brackets in the skill. My company name isn't brackets, insert your name here. You know what I mean? So it has to configure, and I didn't tell it to do that. So my skills at first were kind of like useless because it kept telling them to look at files that didn't exist on my computer. They existed on the developer who created it. So you have to like give it that information, that context. So what Dan is saying is build that in to the Claude's brain and say, anytime I give you a skill, configure it and know that it's part of my business. Don't just default to the template.
Yeah, pretty much. Import the skill for my workspace and how I operate and how I'll be using it. Here's what I want to use it for, but here's the guidelines.
And
follow them.
That's why it's important to do it, because otherwise it won't work.
Right. Exactly. Good one. Share screen. Back here. Okay, so what changed in the last 3 months? Routines launched on April 14th. This is cool. You might like this. Saved Claude code configurations that run on Anthropic's cloud infrastructure, even when your computer is off. So these are called cron jobs. And historically, or before yesterday, you'd have to host your it's called a cron job. Cron job is basically a job that happens at a set time, like daily.
Chronological job.
Exactly.
Cron
That's
job.
what it is. Yeah, cron job. So you'd have to host that code base on your own VPS, or you discovered that you can use GitHub. They've got their own cloud servers that they can spawn up. So you can use GitHub, but then again, it's a little bit technical. But Claude, Anthropic, has just released the ability to run cron jobs on Claude on Anthropic's own cloud server, even when your computer is off. This is really useful because if you're in bed and your laptop's down and you have a cron job scheduled and you're running it from your local machine, it's not going to run when your computer's off. So this now solves that. Like you don't need to get a VPS cloud server to run scheduled tasks. You can now just do it straight from Claude Code on Anthropic servers.
What's an example of a cron job? Like if someone has blogs scheduled?
Yeah, you've got cron jobs.
Oh,
Yeah,
I have cron jobs.
you have cron jobs. Yeah,
If my
post a blog.
was off, I didn't know it wouldn't run.
That might be the one you discovered in GitHub.
Oh, I see.
You kind of run it through GitHub.
Oh, I see.
But it might be like I want to every morning or every week I want to research these top 10 Instagram profiles that are like competitors
Yeah,
of
that's a
mine
good
to
one.
see what they post, and then send me a report on Slack that outlines like what they've posted about and how it's performed and so on and so forth. Like you don't want to manually run that agent if it's doing the same thing every time and it's like a weekly schedule. Just have it run in the background. So now you can literally just say to Claude, hey, set this skill up as a cron job for 8 a.m. on Monday morning. It's like, cool, done. And it just does it on
Wait,
Anthropic servers. It's really cool. Yeah.
otherwise people would get an error message if their computer was off, right? And it wouldn't run.
It just wouldn't run. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
How do they set that up?
Um,
Anthropic cloud infrastructure. Do they need to do anything specific?
So pro users get 5 routines per day. I'm assuming it's going to be like a slash command / routines, or just say to Claude, hey, I want to use the new routines feature, research Anthropic's documentation and tell me how to use the new routines feature to schedule a daily task. Literally, if anything you don't know, just ask Claude to research online and it will find out for you. Opus 4.6 became the default model. The desktop app, this is the other thing yesterday, has been redesigned with multiple parallel sessions in one window, an integrated terminal, an in-app file editor, faster diff viewer, I don't even know what that means, drag and drop layout. Oh, okay. So they're making it more like an IDE. So an IDE is like a VS Code, right? So the VS Code, so this is a way to just open a file structure so you can see. Let me just go in anything. Go skill.md, whatever. And then if I open like a terminal window. So this is what developers will often use to interact with the code base. It's called an IDE. And it just allows you to do things like view images, interact with images, view code that kind of does more than terminal. It looks like they're making the Claude desktop app a little more like an IDE, but a user-friendly version, right? So you can do a lot of the interactive stuff that you can with VS Code or something like that, but you can do it through the desktop app, and that was released yesterday. And then this one, we touched on it already. Interactive demos, interactive lessons. I think this is awesome. Like to just literally force a power up and just have Claude teach you how it works while you're using it.
Mine wasn't working when I tried it.
You might need to exit and restart Claude in the terminal. Cool. See if it respawns it. And then best practices. Again, these are great. Verification is everything. So giving Boris Cherny, it says giving Claude a way to verify its own work produces a 2 to 3x quality improvement. Oh, there's links everywhere. I'm trying to not click links, and like anywhere I go, there's just links. Jesus. So yeah, include test commands, linting scripts, or screenshot verification. So tell Claude, run tests after making changes. And the test might be a skill. And if you're like, I don't know how to build a test, ask Claude. Say, I want to build a skill that will test my workflows after I've built them, or test my skills after I've built them. Go research GitHub repos that have some of the most starred repos for validating your own builds. Right. So again, just ask Claude to go find stuff that other developers have built. GitHub and knowing how to just tell Claude to find stuff on GitHub means you can just get for free these open source builds from some of the smartest people on the internet right now that build this stuff, and just go, here you go, world. Here's my project. And you can just literally go to Claude, install this in my workspace, copy paste the URL. You literally just grab the URL of like a repo, it's called a repository. You just copy that, paste that to Claude and say, review the code in this repo and then add this skill into my workspace, but adapt it for my business. Done. You'll then have this skill, right? And Claude can find the best ones for you. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's so good. So final couple of points. Plan before you build. I've talked about this one a lot. Bloody crucial. Always, unless it's literally like a one-line task, like go and find me which company in my CRM has this record or something, like just something super simple. Anything that's like build a website, build a sales funnel, build a CRM, build a skill, build like anything at all that's like more than one request or one task, start in plan mode. Shift and tab, right? Or if you're in the desktop app, Claude Code, bottom left, I've got Zoom in the way, bottom left, plan mode. Always start in plan mode, and it allows Claude to think through the structure, figure out how it's going to work, figure out all the steps, figure out everything it needs to do the project successfully, consider options available, write up the PRD. It's called a product requirements document. That's an official developer term for when you start a project, you create a PRD. And that will save you loads of time with back and forth and troubleshooting. The stat, yeah, here it is. So Anthropic's internal testing found that unguided coding attempts succeed only 33% of the time. Toggle to plan mode, and if Claude makes, for complex tasks, if Claude makes the right decision, 80% of the time across 20 decision points, the probability of getting everything right is 0.8 to the 20, roughly 1%. So in other words, if you don't plan and it's like it can miss the mark by just a little bit on a bunch of steps, very quickly you get to the point where the chances of succeeding are like almost zero. Right? So the plan mode will map out what needs to happen at each step and just define that before it starts. So always do that. Context windows, your most precious resource. We've talked about this again and again. Keep your context windows clean. Performance degrades as context fills. Precision drops at 70% usage. Hallucinations increase at 85%, and responses become erratic above 90%. Use /clear between unrelated tasks. Use /compact with focus instructions when sessions get long, and use /context to check current usage. Again, if you don't need to remember all of these commands, just remember one thing, which is /help. You just remember /help. You just type /help and it will just list all of these things out for you. All right. And again, we said this already. Keep Claude.md lean. Target under 200 lines. Write specific, concrete, verifiable instructions. Remove outdated rules. Split into, don't worry about subdirectories. It's fine. Start small, iterate. So never ask Claude to build a complete e-commerce site with 10 features. Instead, start with build just the product catalog page and iterate from there.
Whoops.
That being said, I mean, I kind of have a slightly different view on this for the reasons where like planning is key and you can plan within a plan. So
Like
yes,
with the GSD skill?
that's kind of part of it, but what I'm talking about more is like the AI blueprint of the business plan. So you can say, here's the plan for the whole business. Now, within the context of this plan, we're going to build this one agent that does SEO for my website, or this one prospecting agent that will follow up via SMS to prospects who reach out to my business or whatever, right? But Claude can have the context of how it fits within the business. Again, this is kind of what we were talking about here with Obsidian, right? Like contextual understanding of how information moves between different systems and so on and so forth. Right? Kind of looks like a spider's web, doesn't it?
It looks like constellations.
Yeah, it does look a bit like constellations or like a brain. I don't know, but like, yeah, this is not a very good brain. This brain needs work. But it can have the contextual understanding of how this one task or this one skill that it's building now, let's say it's working on like, I don't know, this node here, like it can understand. I'm trying to not click it. I need to not click into it, don't I? Do I just hover?
Yeah, you hover.
There you go.
That's a README file.
Yeah, that's a README file.
That's a mock. I don't know what mock
Yeah,
is.
you know
What's
what
that
mock is?
giant cluster?
This guy here,
Yeah, what does that say?
glossary,
Glossary.
at router migration.
That's cool.
Production shaker. Anyway, the point I'm making is that Claude can understand the purpose within the context of the full project that this one thing has, and that is going to help it understand, oh, I need to consider this and this and this, right, for this build, because the ultimate objective is like the user to have context for a sales conversation, right? This is just going to get confusing. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it.
Should we pause for questions?
Let me just finish that thought quickly.
Oh.
So the idea is like it can have the full context, and you can build within that context, and that means that you as the builder don't need to figure out how to connect everything yourself. Claude can kind of get that plan before it starts, before you then build the one part, the one thing that you want to build for this particular task, right? Like an e-com page on your website or something like that. Got 5 minutes left. Any questions, guys?
The competition as well.
Yes.
So competition and questions. Are you finished with the document, or is there one or two more points?
There's one, so we won't go through running parallel sessions. Common beginning mistake. This is the last thing I wanted to read. The kitchen sink session is the most common error, which is mixing unrelated tasks in one conversation until context is polluted and quality collapses. Fix using clear. Again, we talked about it. The correction spiral. So again, happens when you keep telling Claude to fix the same issue differently. After 2 failed corrections, start fresh with a better initial prompt rather than piling up on corrections. You'll just end up looping into a death spiral.
Oh, learn that the hard way.
Yep. And again, don't install too many MCP servers. The context window gets too big, and just don't skip Claude.md because every session will start fresh and it won't have any consistency and won't know what's going on. Cool.
Thank you for running through that.
You're welcome. The resources down below are going to really tie it all up.
What questions do you have? That was a lot.
That was a lot.
Of course, I've got something. So how do I practically get started with this? Do I literally open up a Word document and just type in some commands and then later extract that into an MD file? Or like, where do I go from here, basically?
Okay, so if you literally want to just create a Claude.md using whatever's in your code base right now, you just type /init, init, and Claude will then create a Claude.md for you, right? /init. Or in the links just down below on this recording, you're doing the init.
Yeah.
Cool.
So right here, Claude code.
Claude code.
Yeah.
/init. Don't actually hit enter because you'll start creating more
Boom.
files.
Well, it's in plan mode.
No, okay, that's fair. It's in plan mode. Yeah, so you just type that and Claude will create one for you for your current workspace, or in the file section down below, Michelle, when you're watching this recording, I will give you a document with an example Claude.md with all the instructions that I would recommend. I didn't have time to run through the recommended file structure, but I'll pop that in the document. What you'd be looking for is where did I put it? Wait, no, I put it in
The blueprint?
No. What have you done to my windows? Nurture, business plan.
Oh, my
I
vendor.
closed it for my sales call earlier. This one here. I just want to show you what you're looking for so you can recognize it.
Oh, this is from last week's call.
I added some stuff on the bottom of it. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be like recommended file structure. Again, it looks like quite a lot. It's quite confusing, but this is basically like I'm going to highlight a few things for Claude.md to know where to check. For example, this is like the contents file of all your the skills and code base and so on. And then this is like for Obsidian, and we won't go through it now. We'll go through it another time. Just look for this.
/init. /init.
Yeah, just either /init or just wait for me to post the replay and then read the doc that I share down below. That'll work.
Well, because I think yours is probably going to be better than whatever mine has gathered so far, right? I think I need to upload something first that it can then work off of.
You can always upgrade anything you've got, Michelle. So you can always just do /init and just literally hit enter and then just do it now. And then in 48 hours or so, when I get the replay live, you can then go copy paste. You copy paste my document and you say, hey, Claude, can you update the Claude.md file to add these guardrails that are relevant for my current code base? Advise me on what I should include and what I shouldn't include. And then yeah, just literally, and it will just update your Claude.md with improvements.
Okay. And then that will always run in the background because we talked about it having memory issues, right? But the Cloud MD, it'll always know every session that starts to refer to what's in that.
Exactly. Every single session, Claude by default will go, is there a Claude.md? Yes, there is. Read the Claude.md, and that's the master instructions. So like for anything about this, go to this file. For anything about this, go to this file. If you need to understand endpoints, go to this file. If it's to do with database, go to this file. If it's this, go to this. And it's literally just like the lines that it needs for the task is like, I need to understand this, this, and this for this task. So I need to check those three files. Those individual files will then specify things it needs to know, and then those files might in turn point to skills. Like if you're interacting with the database, you must use this skill and this skill, which detail how to interact with the database. So it's all like fanned from Claude.md as the source of truth and fanned through the file structure, which is categorized for your business. And again, you don't need to update these files. We just put in Claude.md whenever you create new skills. Here are the files that you update so that future sessions know where to find these skills, right? And this is what links nodes on the knowledge graph on Obsidian. So Obsidian goes, this loop feeds back to the master file here. There's a connection point in this command chain.
And these files aren't actual like Word files or anything that I can open and see. It's just all in the back end, right?
No, you
You can see it.
Yeah, you can see it. The .md
Okay.
files. So if you wanted to read it, can I?
I can share mine.
Uh,
Mine's really clean and simple. Well, because it's dog walker.
Nice.
I mean,
Let's see that.
yeah, go for that. Yeah, it's a good idea. Go for that.
so .md, Claude.md. Cool. Do-do-do. Share. All right. Claude.md. It's in my Claude code folder. And it looks like this. So it looks like a terminal window,
Okay.
but this is what it is. Betches walking betches. Boom. Workspace rules, brand context, and skill routing. Read skills.index at the start of every new session. So it's basically like, yeah, a Claude Code employee handbook.
Nice.
Session startup checklist. Boom, it has a startup checklist. And then it has my business overview, projects that are going on. I should probably clean that up. We have the mock-up website in there. I should probably clean that up. Anyways, URLs, where am I hosting? I think this is where I had some secret stuff in there.
Yeah, we've deleted them out.
Deleted them out, yeah. Brand voice. So I have like my tone of voice, or my business's tone of voice, the values, brand messaging. So that goes into what Dan was mentioning is like part of the business.
Just one thing on that. So this is where we need to tidy up your Claude.md file. So this
That shouldn't be in there.
No, so instead of having the entire thing about this is the brand, you would have one line saying to understand the brand, go to this file, brand.md. And in Claude.md, it's just one line. And so that means that and if Claude
It's
doesn't
losing.
need, if
Yeah.
it doesn't need to check the brand files because it's working on something that's nothing to do with branding,
I guess just
it won't
err on
need
the side of caution, so I didn't have to keep reminding it.
Well, this is the point of if the Claude.md file is structured correctly,
Yeah.
you don't need to remind it because the MD file tells Claude where to go for anything in any instance and where to update things automatically. So this is a great instance. We need to take out the entire full page of brand.md, drop that in your brand.md, and then it's like anytime any skill references the branding, Claude already knows from its master instructions that branding lives in brand.md. So any skill that needs information on branding, hex codes, fonts, and so on, it knows that there's a master brand.md in the project that defines all the branding and styles and tone of voice and guidelines for
Oh, I
betters.
do have that as well.
Yeah, you got
So
assets.
getting that right is like key.
I have
The
this.
It just saves you time and context and tokens and you're not duplicating info. And again, the more like bloated your code base is, because you've got like the same info all over the place or too much info where it shouldn't be, it just creates more context rot, more error, chance of errors or mistakes or things like that, as opposed to if you just had one line in Claude.md that said anything to do with branding, go here. Like you can't really misinterpret that. And then if you're telling it to do a project like a website design for BWB, it's already read the Claude.md. It says, we're doing design for BWB. I need to check the brand.md file. Then it will go check the brand.md file because that's in its master instructions. Okay.